And we do have a slight change since the last time we showed you the title odds around the association. The Boston Celtics, who way back after they won championship number 18 last year, were booked as the favorites early in the offseason, all preseason long. The entirety of this regular season to this point are no longer the favorites. The Oklahoma City Thunder at plus 175, now 15 cents in front of the C's.
Yeah, and look, I like where the line is going at this point here because you're taking a look at the favorite, Oklahoma City Thunder, handling their business against the Celtics in the regular season, having a fantastic season, going to have a better record than the Boston Celtics. So if they do match up in the NBA Finals, they will have home court advantage, and it just plays out that way. So we're finally starting to see, hey, look, it's not just about the Celtics, who are, yes, maybe the best overall team when completely healthy, but things are working against them. Like the Thunder are just a great basketball team, handling their business and playing well against the Celtics. And again, we'll have home court advantage, so they should have the side. We're not talking about the Thunder here. Should be minus one, let's just say plus 100 or minus 130 to win the NBA championship, and the Celtics should be 5 or 6 to 1. But we're finally getting to the point where we're showing that respect through the betting markets to OKC as being a better team right now than the Boston Celtics. And it's not about playing in the NCAA tournament, Ben, where it's a neutral championship game and it's may the best team win. No, it's a 7-game series that Oklahoma City Thunder has been fantastic at home and would have home court advantage. It only makes sense.
And, Donnie, I think it also goes to speak about the path for both of those teams to reach the NBA Finals. Because right now, Oklahoma City, 12.5-game lead for that one spot around the Western Conference. We are very, very close to OKC clinching that number one overall seed with only about 14 games left in average for every team around the NBA. So, DRS, the Thunder right now a minus 145 favorite to win the Western Conference, but they also back up the odds in terms of their record, having the best by far out west, and their path. They will have home court advantage. Boston a minus 140 favorite still to win the Eastern Conference, and yet more than likely are going to be the 2 seed. The C's trail the Cleveland Cavaliers by 7.5 games for that one spot in the Eastern Conference. Now, the Cavs did have their 16-game win streak snapped by the Magic over the weekend, but Cleveland's still very comfortable in that number one overall seed spot in the Eastern Conference. And that still is the distinction. Oklahoma City, far and away by itself in the Western Conference. Cleveland in front of the Boston Celtics. The C's not only would not have home floor advantage in a championship set against the Thunder, the C's would not have home floor advantage in an Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland.
Yes, and we take a look at that number that used to sit at 12 to 1 and 11 to 1 and 10 to 1, now down to 5 to 1, and show some respect here. And I love to see that because we're not just resting on our laurels as we continue to talk about how good the Celtics are, the reigning world champions. They're a talented roster, and they have firepower off the bench for days. But understand this once again, it's not a single game playoff on a neutral court. Home court advantage doesn't matter. And you might say to yourself, like, well, Cleveland struggles a little bit at home. They're great. No. These teams are phenomenal with single-digit losses at home for a reason, and also having the home court advantage makes a huge difference. You can argue right now if you put the Cavaliers and the Celtics on a neutral court, a lot of people would still take the Cavaliers. And look at that price point difference, plus 190 to 5 to 1 still. I'm interested to see how close that number even gets, because if you're putting a match on it, obviously – if the number for the Cavaliers changes, that means Oklahoma City, Boston, and Denver Nuggets, you get the picture would shift slightly as well. But looking at the Cavaliers myself, I still think before the end of the regular season, that price is going to be shorter than 5 to 1, and rightfully so.
I think it should be, right? Because, Donnie, look at the odds distinction right there. We have 3 teams separated by just over $3 in terms of the NBA championship odds. Boston in front of Cleveland by just over $3 as well. And when you look at the Eastern Conference odds specifically, the C's minus 140, Cleveland at plus 180, and then you jump all the way back to the New York Knicks at a 12 to 1 price. Here's what the odds makers are expecting in the final month of this NBA regular season. Oklahoma City going to blow by everybody in the Western Conference. Eastern Conference Finals matchup predicted to be Boston against Cleveland when the Cavs would have home floor advantage. So I think the question then from a value perspective, where do you look outside of the top 3 numbers in those NBA Finals odds? Is it the Denver Nuggets, who have won a championship recently? Is it LeBron and Luka, when healthy for the Lakers. Big home victory last night against the San Antonio Spurs. Is it another spot out east? Where do you go, DRS? Because you can find some value with some rather long numbers compared to those top three.
Like, I guess if you're looking at the Clippers price at 120 to 1, which is insanity, when that team has a lot of veteran-laden superstars here, some of those guys do have a ring, you're looking at price point at that point. Because if you slide up, it really feels like it's the Thunder, it's the Celtics, and the Cavaliers in one tier. But you still do have the Nuggets and the Lakers because they have firepower. The Nuggets won a championship. The other team, the Lakers, obviously add Luka Doncic and LeBron James if they're healthy. That's superstar talent to go through. But when I take a look at teams like 21 to 1 for the Warriors, like, they don't move the needle, not just because they lost last night in horrific, effort against the Nuggets themselves. The Knicks, they're a superstar team, but it just doesn't feel like when they measure up against the higher up teams in the NBA, they come away with too many victories, which is why they're priced lower. The Timberwolves, does that get you excited? How about Ja Morant, Desmond Bane over there for the Grizzlies? Doesn't get me excited. It's the tier of three, but if I'm looking to take a long-term shot, it's probably the Clippers at 120 to 1. Not because I love the team, just the price point I don't think reflects the talent that they have and the veterans that once you get to the playoffs, you get the extended rest time. But the big three, probably going to carry it away. And that's the Thunder, the Celtics, and the Cavs.
Yeah. The Clippers right now, also the 8th seed in the Western Conference. They would be in a play-in tournament. They would only have to win one game if they stay in that play-in spot. They've got a 3.5-game advantage over Sacramento for the 8-9 distinction in the Western Conference standings. Donnie, I think the value right now is with Denver and Los Angeles, that being the Lakers. But it will be really interesting to see how the Western Conference playoff standings do end up shaking out. Houston, Denver, LA being the Lakers, and the Memphis Grizzlies. Those four teams right now, separated by only a game between four clubs. And those are the seed lists from 2 to 5 currently in the Western Conference standings. Why I think that is so critical, one, some difficult opening round matchups. But if we're giving Oklahoma City the benefit of the doubt, despite not really having proven it so far with this young core in the postseason, you want to try to be a 2 or 3 seed, right? To avoid OKC, to have that value in the hedge out opportunity, the middling opportunity based on a series price in the Western Conference Finals. And the best way of doing that, of course, is to be on the opposite end of the bracket, avoiding OKC until you were to get to that best of 7 WCF set. So that's where I really think you look right now. Denver would be in position. They are the 3 seed. They have the same exact record as the Rockets, but based on a couple of tiebreakers, Houston does have that slight advantage right now. It'll be really interesting, I think, to how the Western Conference standings finalizes themselves in the regular season. And then I think you go back and get some value once again in the Western Conference odds or the NBA championship odds for the team you believe in most, who is opposite Oklahoma City in the Western Conference playoff bracket.
Yeah, and you even take a look at the bottom of that bracket where I do think the Phoenix Suns are going to overtake the Dallas Mavericks into that 10 spot here and make the play-in round. Now, is that a success for the Phoenix Suns coming into the season? Well, that superstar talent? No, it's not. But at least you can see, like, we're not throwing in the towel. Our superstars are still playing, as we said. They'll break them up over the summer. However, if you are looking at that Clippers ticket right now, let's just say it goes just by the seeding that we currently have right now. So if the season ended today, the 8th seed would be the Clippers. The number 1 seed is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Your ticket's in play right away. You don't have to wait, say, hey, we avoided them, and maybe it's round number 2. We'll see if they can stack up right off the bat and are worthy of that plus 120 ticket.
The prop perspective on this Tuesday with TV Tom Vecchio of SportsGrid live right here on the early line. Tom, as always, we appreciate the time. We often refer to you as the jack of all trades. And when we have the NBA in action, the NHL regular season coming down to a close as well, the start officially of the Major League Baseball campaign in 2025 as of this Tuesday morning out in Japan. And first for action in the men's NCAA tournament, you are going to deliver on all fronts. Tom Vecchio, it is always a pleasure.
Of course, awesome time to be a sports fan. Arguably the first or second best month of the year for sports between March and October, whatever it might be. We had action early today. We'll have action late tonight, early tomorrow morning. Let's get into it.
Let's dive right into it, Vecchio. A 4-game slate around the association on this Tuesday evening. Late night in San Francisco. It's the Warriors hosting the Bucks. As we referred to earlier, Golden State saw its 7-game win streak snap last night, despite the Denver Nuggets not having Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, nor Christian Brown. And Steve Kerr said after the game, as Donnie referred to, that Steph Curry looked a little bit exhausted. He was 6 of 21, putting his status for tonight in question. And then quickly, the Warriors open up as a 3.5-point home underdog tonight in San Francisco against the Bucks. How are you approaching this game, Vecchio, as of this moment with some status uncertainty on behalf of the Warriors?
Yeah, with Curry not expected, his status in the year, I'm not going to say he's not expected to play because that's not the official word. We just don't know what we're going to be getting from him. I don't mind taking a Cavs first half. I don't want to say the full game just because not the Cavs. The Bucks first half. Yeah. I want to take the Bucks first half because they're just not a team I've been able to trust. But if they do have a spot where, hey, Curry may not play, Draymond Green, et cetera, Jimmy Butler, if they're not going to be out there, the Bucks have to come out early and often. They have to get that scoring. We've seen them collapse in a lot of these recent games. They're just not a team that I want to trust for a full 4 quarters. So I'll be looking to the Bucks, assuming we get some positive injury news in their favor, seeing that we do see some Golden State Warriors players sitting out.
Yeah, always a tough time in the NBA betting season right now. Heading down the stretch here, some teams sitting players. And again, we handicap these games live on the air 10, 12 hours before some of these games even tip off, which includes a nightcap tonight at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. That's the Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the Clippers here, looking for a bounce back and maybe a new win streak. You are favored, talking about Cleveland, at -3.5 at the opening number. That has now since risen to 4 at this point. A lot of other outlets out there still 3.5s and 4s. A total 230.5. You see the graphic at 231. That's actually up an extra half point at 231.5. Cavs, Clippers tonight. West Coast action. Tom, what are you looking at?
Yeah, now we can get to the Cavs. -4. This is where I want to be going. Evan Mobley didn't play in their most recent game against the Magic. And I get it. Like, the Magic are fighting tooth and nail for every win they could possibly get. The Cavs, this win streak ends. I got to say, this is the time for the Cavs to have everyone out there, be fully healthy, and put up a good win. Because, we've seen some okay wins from them. They barely snuck away with a win against Brooklyn. They barely snuck away with a win against the Hornets back on, March 6th or March 7th. They need to, I'm not going to say right the ship because they're cruising, but they need to put together a full 4 quarters and come away with the win. So hopefully Mobley plays. He is officially listed as questionable. I'm already on the Cavs -4. If that number changes, so be it. But if he plays, that number is probably going to go to 4.5 or 5.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Vecchio. You saw that 16-game win streak snapped over the weekend by Orlando. But even toward the tail end of that 16-game win streak, when the Cavaliers were booked as 7, 8, 9, even double-digit point favorites, they weren't looking overly impressive, trying to find that footing, of course, down the home stretch of this regular season. With that being said, the Cavaliers still a 7.5-game lead for that top spot around the Eastern Conference. Just a 4-game slate tonight around the association. We'll preview at least 3 of them and maybe even a thought on that 4th and final game. DRS, again, as we have often said, when we sit here at near 10:30 a.m. Eastern time for a game that is happening after 10 p.m. Eastern time out in Northern California, where status is always uncertain for a team's best player, kind of difficult to give you our full thoughts on this handicap. Not entirely sure what the availability is going to look like. Of course, we are referring to Milwaukee and Golden State tonight in San Francisco. Steph Curry, his status up in the air. It is why the Dubs are now a 3.5-point home favorite hosting Milwaukee tonight. Golden State saw their 7-game win streak come to a close yesterday against the shorthanded Nuggets. Steve Kerr said after the game, Steph looked a little bit tired, trying to power the Golden State Warriors to an 8th consecutive win. Total stands at 227 and a hook. With the uncertainty around Golden State, what's the approach, DRS, for this one?
It should be only one approach, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks. As we saw the overnight line here at the FanDuel Sportsbook in New Jersey, -3.5. Not towards the Bucks. That was actually the Golden State Warriors. But now you see the 3.5 switching over to the Bucks. Even updated from the graphic that we have on the screen, the total in this game is dropping 233.5, the opening number, now down to 227.5. Because sometimes you do have to take a coach at his word. Hey, that was a bad loss for us tonight, and maybe we just are tired. But also understand this. You're home again. You were just embarrassed the night before. Do you just want to lay down in this game and let the Bucks come in and win, knowing that you're jockeying for playoff position? Or is this one of those boy, we should have won last night. And yes, Steph is tired. Okay, we won last night. Now we can rest a couple stars tonight. still put out a good performance and maybe win, but that's what we're worried about. And again, we are handicapped in this game 12 hours before it tips, but just looking at what I saw yesterday from the effort of the team and the coach saying we're tired and it's a back-to-back, shouldn't that lead to, hey, there's bigger things down the road here for Steph Curry? If I need to give him a breather tonight, I don't see how the fact that the Warriors can win even at home. So I went with the Bucks. I think the Bucks are the right play tonight just based on what I heard from Kerr, but we might get a starting lineup where Steve Kerr's like, yeah, you know what? Talked to the guys, had a great shoot-around, seemed energized. We were embarrassed last night. Let's go out and get a victory tonight. That changes the scenario where now you might be looking at that -3.5 for the Warriors was the correct side. But for me, right now, it's the Bucks.
It is interesting, DRS. You can understand maybe taking one game off so you're ready for your final 10 or 12 when you're battling for playoff positioning around the Western Conference, but you would not be expecting to kind of take any games off at this stage of the year. Golden State is 39-29. Right now, they have a slightly better win percentage than that of Minnesota, who has one more win but one more loss. Golden State trying to stay out of the play-in tournament. Currently in the 6th spot, the T-Wolves just barely behind them as that 7 seed in the Western Conference. Again, Golden State this year as an underdog, 13-11 against the spread. Milwaukee has dropped 4 of its last 6 games, including on Sunday at home against OKC, but they were an underdog in that one. In fact, DRS, in Milwaukee's last 5 covers, they have been booked as a favorite in all 5. All 5 of those games also pushing to the over. Tonight's total, as we shared, 227.5. Starting a new streak is what the Cavaliers have done many a time this year. They're on the road tonight as a 4-point favorite in Los Angeles. Over the weekend, beat by Orlando. That 16-game win streak came to a close. 231 in a hook, the total in L.A. How do you break down this matchup tonight between the Cavaliers and the Clippers?
It looks like we're full go, both sides here. Garland, Mitchell, Strus, Mobley, and Allen for the Cavaliers in that anticipated starting lineup. Then for the Los Angeles Clippers, Harden, Dunn, big guy, big Will. Norm Powell's in that lineup along with Kawhi Leonard and Ivica Zubac. So I like the home team here. I do like the points, but I can see also the public saying, okay, line opened up at 3.5. You see the graphic at 4.5. It's now back down to 4. But I think the total makes sense. I think we get back to more of an up-tempo pace. Anytime you're going to play the Orlando Magic, you say, hey, you can't beat them. All right, it's not really the tempo we like. I think the 231 might be in jeopardy. But if I had to lay it here, you're looking at the Cavaliers. Used to winning basketball games, lost. I love a team that can get refocused right away. I think the Cavaliers win the game, but I might be more confident in there in the over 231.5.
And it wasn't like this 16-game win streak came out of nowhere, or the Cavs are not used to having a long win streak snap this year and then starting a new one. The Cavs have not covered in 4 of their last 6, which is unusual for the NBA's best covered team. I would look to Cleveland tonight, under in 5 of their last 6 as well. The Cavs, a 7.5-game lead for the 1 spot in the Eastern Conference over the Boston Celtics. The C's a 13.5-point favorite at home tonight inside TD Garden against the Brooklyn Nets. Over under 214. Donnie, anything else that needs to be shared about this one?
No, not really. Bad basketball team, good basketball team. Good luck betting it. How about that?